Let's check out all the cool things I created with a laser tree 20-watt diode laser. Hello and welcome to the latest episode where we are reviewing the Laser Tree 20-watt diode laser. Now, as a reminder, if you've not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that little button to get all the latest tips, tricks, tutorials and reviews on anything laser and CNC related. Now, Laser Tree is a company that I've not previously worked with, so before I get started, I always make sure they agree to my review policy that can be found on my website, just to guarantee that you get a fair review of anything that you see on this channel. And they did. That is why we're here. That is why we have this in the workshop. So let's clear all this out of the way and take a closer look at this 20-watt diode laser. So let's start with the basics. This is the LT4LDS V2. It is a 20-watt output laser, and the reason I'm stressing that is because I am very happy they advertise this correctly with the output wattage instead of trying to confuse you with the input wattage that some other manufacturers do. It needs its own power supply that comes with it. You get this little control board as well, which basically just allows you to connect this to that, but crucially allow your machine to actually run the laser itself. So it gives you a bit of flexibility and will allow you to connect to different types of diode laser machines. You also get this fixing plate with it. Now, there's lots of holes in the back of this. There's also lots of holes in the back of the laser as well, again giving you that flexibility for different mounting points for different lasers. You also get a few clear acrylic spacers in the box as well, 4mm, 6mm and 8mm, and these are to set the correct focal depth depending on the thickness of the material that you are cutting. Let's take a closer look at the laser itself. Well, there is a fan on top, there is a control board underneath that. Obviously this allows air to pass through the laser, keeping it cool whenever it is operating. Now, down the one side we have an air assist nozzle. This is all metal, it feels nice and strong, and you also get the air hose kit, the air hose in the kit with this to fit the air assist directly, so you don't need to buy any additional air hoses or air assist nozzles because they're all inbuilt with it. There is a little viewing window on the front that you can probably just see here, and obviously this gives you some protection when the laser is operating. Now, this is fully enclosed on four sides, and say with this little viewing window. I usually like to be able to see the laser whilst it's running, and other manufacturers often give you something like this where you can view it on all sides. So it kind of is a plus and a minus. It gives you more protection, but it is a limited field of view for actually seeing the laser running. Now, I had to pick a machine to mount this to in order to do the testing. So I went with my Fox Alien Machooter Pro that you can see behind me in the enclosure here. This is a great machine that can do both CNC and laser really well. It's belt driven, so we can get some nice high acceleration speeds, and all round a good machine to test this laser out on. If you want to know more about that machine, there is a link in the corner to the full review that I previously did. So with the basics out of the way, I always start with some simple tests on 3mm ply. We began with a cutting test, which is where we get faster and faster until it stops cutting through this 3mm ply. And we got it up to 1000mm per minute, running at 100%. Now, usually you'll bring that down just a little bit and naturally run it at around 900mm, just to guarantee you do get clean cuts all the while, but still pretty impressive, as I say, as it is a 20-watt diode laser. We then did a gradation test just to see how this operates at different speeds, different powers, and it gives us this nice effect where we can get a rough idea of how it starts to look if we're going to do something like a photo engraving. I also did a focus test just to make sure that the clear acrylic blocks are the correct depths for the focusing of the laser, and I can confirm these are correct. One thing I would say, instead of providing 3 separate blocks, they maybe could have provided just one block with 3 different steps, so you can allow this to drop down to the relevant step depending on the thickness of the material that you are working on. So with an understanding of the power of the laser, I moved on to my first project. I put this cutting board on the bed and did this steakhouse logo. Now, this was done at 2000mm per minute at 30% power. It's a nice deep engraving and nice dark burn, and it's come out nice and crisp and clean. Then I flipped it over, doubled the speed up to 4000mm per minute, and did this mandala pattern. Obviously it's not as dark because I sped it up, but it meant this whole thing was done in less than 30 minutes, which for the size of it is quite fast, and it just goes to show the variation you can do with the power of this laser. So instead of going to the top of the power scale, I wanted to go to the other end. I bought some of these leather patches off Amazon and started to bring the power down by doing various tests until I got a result that I was happy with. And and I settled on 0.5% at 2000 millimeters per minute. I was getting a nice burn on the leather, not too much soot, but also very crisp, clean lines on the lettering. So really happy with these. And patches like this, you're going to knock out in no time at all with how powerful this laser is, because you can lower the power and still get fast speeds and get nice engravings on these little leather patches. Now, one of the cool things about diode lasers is you can use them to colour in on stainless steel. They produce nice shades of red and blue at different speeds and different powers. So I did a power scale test on this thin piece of stainless steel, and we started off in the lower areas around 800 millimeters per minute, getting nice shades of red in the 20, 30 and 40% power. Then up into the 4000 millimeter per minute range, we start to get some nice blue shades coming through, again at around the 20% power. Now, the intention was to do a nice Royal Air Force logo on the back of this. Unfortunately, because of how thin the stainless steel was, and I'd done that test grid on it, it kind of ruined the outcome. So it didn't come out as nice, but that's more user error for using thin stainless steel. A thicker piece would have come out much better doing the pattern on both sides. Sticking with metal, I then did a bit of an experiment. I took a sheet of mild steel, put it in some vinegar for a while, then put it into hydrogen peroxide with salt. And basically what this does is it makes the metal rust very quickly. So within an hour, I went from normal metal to this nice patina rust effect. And ultimately the purpose of doing this was then to use the laser to burn that rust back off. Now, the lighting in here doesn't really do this justice, but it gives this nice cool effect because you get this rough rustic look from the rust, but obviously the nice clean logo engraved into it. So definitely something to try if you're looking to make signs. Now, I personally try and avoid using diode lasers for cutting thicker materials, but I know some of you are interested in that. There is base information on the Laser Tree website about some of the tests they've done, but for me, I started with this thick 18mm pine. I found the best result was 200 millimeters per pass, 100% power, and in 2 passes. It gave a very nice burn, very clean edges, but without too much overburn on the edge either. I then moved on to this 10mm thick oak-faced MDF to produce this Silverstone F1 track decoration plaque, I don't know what you want to call it, but the speed I'd got this at cutting nice was 400 millimeters per minute, 100% power, and again in 2 passes. Now, I prefer to try and do things in 2 passes as opposed to pushing for the 1 pass, purely because I think you get a much nicer finish, you get less overburn around the edges, so ultimately it makes your life easier and less work to do in cleaning the piece up at the end. Laser Tree's website also say that they cut 8mm acrylic at a slow speed but in 1 single pass. I did my test on 10mm cast acrylic, so it is thicker, but it took me 3 passes at 200mm to cut at 100% power. Now, there are some differences between acrylic. I don't know the type that they used, but I probably would say it took me 1 more pass than I was expecting in order to cut that 10mm thickness. I should also mention that for all of my cutting tests, I used an air assist provided by a compressor. If you're not familiar with the results of air assist, check out my video link in the corner to show the improvements of using air assist versus not using air assist. Now, anyone that knows me knows I'm a big kid at heart, so I went on and built this great marble run. Now, this is all cut from 3mm ply, and you can find the files at freelaserfiles.com. They've also got a great video showing you how to assemble it all. Now, it's cut from 6 sheets of 3mm ply, and each sheet took around 20 minutes to cut, running at speeds of 900mm per minute, 100% power, just 1 single pass for each sheet. Took around an hour to assemble following their great video, and I'm so pleased with this. I did a smaller version a while back, but wow, I love this marble run. You can tell by the smile on my face, this is genuine happiness. So after doing numerous tests on different types of material, I can confidently say this is a great little 20-watt diode laser. Yes, there are 1 or 2 things I would change about it, such as the fully enclosed laser nozzle area, but to some people that is a positive thing, especially if you don't have a laser enclosure like I do. Now there will be a link to this laser in the description area below. Obviously do check it out. I hope you've enjoyed the video, but more importantly, hopefully learnt one or two things along the way as well, which is always the goal. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please make sure you've subscribed. Thank you very much for watching, and final thanks as always goes to my patrons. If you want to get involved with that for one-to-one help, giveaways with lasers like this, and early access to content, then check out the Patreon links also in the description area. I'll see everyone on the next episode.